Hello, everyone. Satsanga Astrology here this time to speak about the eclipse season. We are in the middle of the eclipse season already. I wrote an article on my blog about the Taurus solar eclipse. I hope you read it. If not, I'll put the link in the description box below so you can get the introduction to this eclipse season, which was the solar eclipse, together with Uranus. So I hope you are prepared and ready, because these eclipses, this set of 2 eclipses this time of the year, will be a game changer. They will be changing gears in your life, in the collective as well, everywhere. So get ready spiritually, especially spiritually, and get ready emotionally for the Scorpio total lunar eclipse. It's going to be challenging. So as usual, if you like what you see, if you like my research, my material, please subscribe to my channel, give it the thumbs up, and visit me on the social media. Contact me by email. Ask questions, make comments, participate, get this conversation going. So now I'm going to share the Scorpio lunar eclipse chart, and I will make it big, full screen, so it's really big for you and you can see it. And I appreciate all the planets where they are. So I hope you enjoy it, to see the picture of it, and you can relate it to your natal chart and find out how it will affect you. And I will do very detailed descriptions of all the aspects and the configurations that I find in my own ideas about this lunar eclipse. Of course, lunar eclipses are full moons, right? So it means that the sun and the moon are opposite to each other. And here is the sun with the north node, and the moon is with the south node. This means that this is a south node eclipse, and it's going to be calling us to let go and purge, because it's Scorpio after all, everything that is not good for our life anymore. So we are draining from our life those things that are overdone, that are they are stale, right? It's Scorpio is the sign of elimination, right? It rules the organs in the body of excretion, the skin pores for the sweating, the anus and the colon, and the urination, right, channels. So it is the sign of excretion of things that we don't need anymore, and that things that if we keep inside, they will poison us. So this full moon will shed the light on things that we need to let go. This moon, of course, is not happy in Scorpio because it's too intense for her. She was happy in Taurus, right? The sign of Taurus is the sign of the moon's exaltation. And then when she's in Scorpio, she is kind of in her enemy's house, right? And I say correctly, because after all, Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. However, the moon in Scorpio is sextile Pluto. It's applying to the sextile. In a few hours after this eclipse, it will perfect the sextile. And the sextile to Pluto is not as bad as if it were a conjunction or a square or an opposition, you know, because the sextile is a favorable kind of energy. It flows easily, so the moon is at ease with Pluto. So it's intense, right? Already in Scorpio, this moon will be very emotionally intense. It says that the moon in Scorpio is afflicted, double affliction, because it's with the south node, the sign where she has to let go of those psychological, emotionally dependent issues that, right? It's gonna be deeply emotional. It's going to be an experience not to forget. Usually the moon, especially full moons in Scorpio, are too intense. It's hard to go through this. So get prepared, breathe deeply, do your yoga and your meditation, and you will be fine. But you may go through some experiences that could be transformational for your life. And this full moon, this eclipse in Scorpio, if it is touching any of your personal planets or the outer planets in your chart, or any angles, right? Ascendant, midheaven, IC, descendant, it could be affecting you directly. And also, and especially if it touches a solar arc planet or a progressed planet, it could be very significant in this stage of your life. However, I need to let you know that the ruler of this moon is Pluto. And Pluto is also a generational planet that is affecting the collective, especially the social, governmental, political institutions. So those transformations, those secrets that are coming out of the Scorpion hole, those secrets and those things that are very shady, let's say, are profoundly affecting our personal lives as well. So even though you may not have any planets on fixed signs, you will still suffer or endure or receive the consequences of the collective transformation that is happening in Capricorn. So, but at a personal level, there could be revelation of taboos, traumas that come from the subconscious, and you need to revisit those psychological issues. It could be also a revision or a clarification, right? The light, the full moon shining on problems, financial debts, and discoveries of shadow things that you were not aware, or that were hidden for some reason. So it could be a day of revelations, especially financial, psychological, and you can have news, for example, about taxes, about debt, about mortgages, and even about death. It could be women in your environment that could be passing, you know, to the other side, mothers, but for those configurations, you need to have a special, in order to make sure that this could happen, you need to have a specific reading. I mean, this is not something that will happen to everyone, of course, but that's one of the possibilities. Scorpio is one of the signs of death, ruled by Pluto, and traditionally by Mars in Pisces, the sign of endings as well, together in conjunction with Neptune. So that is a possibility. And in the collective environment, we are seeing in the news how much death and massacres and genocides are happening at the moment, not only in Ukraine, but other places as well. So unfortunately, that is the condition of this humanity, of this earth. That's where we live, and that's how it is. It's how it's been from time immemorial, and I don't know if that's going to end anytime soon, but as long as your heart is changed and you harbor love and compassion and forgiveness, then we can avoid wars and hate and all the bad feelings, right? But Scorpio is the sign of intense feelings. Even if they are positive and good, they could be very, very intense. But is a moon that signals betrayals, discovering of treason and codependence issues, and also we may hear news about shared resources, and at the global level, we can relate this to the reality of the codependence of energy supplies. You know that Europe was receiving energy in the form of oil from Russia, and it's still very hard to disconnect. There was going to be also a connection with gas supplies. So all that has been shaken by this war, and we can see the reverberations of this codependence that is related to globalization, right? The more global that we have gone, we have overdone it. It's too much dependence on things that come from so far away that we didn't realize that this situation could be happening, and things, all the globalization will be poof and be deflated in just a couple of years, right, of problems like the pandemic and the war and all those kinds of things. So as I said, Scorpio is the sign not only of death, but also rebirth, meaning that it is a kind of death that is a transformation of life. It's becoming from the caterpillar, becoming a butterfly, or from the compost that fertilizes the soil, then you can have new plants, new fruits, and new produce. So it's that kind of regeneration, let's say. But with this full moon, this lunar eclipse, we can have revelations, revelations of truth that people don't want to share, and the revelations of uncomfortable truths, let's say, and dramatic events that will trigger this regeneration. So I think this sextile to Pluto is favorable because even though it could be so intense, but it will be a smooth flow of energy. And as I mentioned, since it is an eclipse, a lunar eclipse on the south node, we are letting go of things, especially the revelations refer to karmic past, something that was really overdone, that was too much codependence, too much secrets, too much of secret deals and hidden intentions, right? Too much debt, for example, and global codependence, and then the inflation or the globalization globe balloon is imploding, right? Because it's unsustainable. So why it is? Because of the human condition that is not dependable. Okay, so enough, I think, talking about the moon, although we will come back. But this eclipse has the sun on the north node, about 10 degrees away from Uranus. So the previous eclipse was closer to Uranus and it brought surprises, right? And you may have been noticing and annotating your journal about it. It's good to keep a journal with especially big events like eclipses. And well, of course, we may expect surprises as well with this sun that is looking for peace and stability and material security in Taurus. And the sun is looking for what is needed to survive, and in some instances people will be alone on their own resources in order to survive, right? Like people in certain places in Ukraine. And not only that, again, that's not the only place in the world that is such an intense and cruel conditions. There are places in Africa, there are places in Asia, there's xenophobia everywhere. So some people in some places are on their own with trying to survive the way they can, right? With the scant resources and reserves that they have to survive. So, and the presence of Uranus in Taurus brings surprises in nature, right? The environment that is affected by the changing climate, also surprises in food production, right? Ukraine was one of the first producers of wheat in the world, and other things, other industries as well. And of course, everything is stopped. And in China, for example, they are dealing with lockdowns because of COVID. And the production and distribution chain of goods is interrupted in many ways, showing the, let's say, the failures or the shortcomings of globalization, of the global economy, right? We have been too dependent on the production and distribution of goods and other products from different countries, from far away, right? And now we see that it's not good anymore. It's not working as efficiently as we hope it would. So that's the sun in Taurus that is shedding that light on the moon in Scorpio, showing that we need to let go of that system, because or the exaggeration, right? Because globalization started with the Saturn and Uranus conjunction at the end of Sagittarius in 1988. So Sagittarius is the sign of expansion and inflation of things, right? Well, we are experiencing that inflation right now. Okay, so this moon is very interesting moon. It is the sun in the full moon, right? The sun in Taurus is ruled by Venus, and Venus is now in a sign where she is not very happy. She's kind of burned there in Aries, right? Because it's the house of Mars. And so Venus there is not comfortable, and less comfortable, more less comfortable, because she's together with Chiron. And she is also semi sextile or in conjunct with Uranus. In conjunct meaning that they don't see each other eye to eye, right? So, and this is a special rulership that is not so good for the sun. And I will explain what that means. So Venus in Aries is looking for self-reliance. However, it's difficult because she's with Chiron, and Chiron makes her feel inadequate, inappropriate. It's I don't have enough, right? She is all about social concerns and relationships and supplies and what I need to be happy, right? And she says, I don't have enough, right? It's a perfect combination for scarcity. She has difficulty taking initiative. She lacks opportunities, and she, even though she has a great interest in personal independence, but she's not well prepared there. So traditionally, though, this Venus is considered unaspected because the traditional astrology did not count semi-sextiles, nor did it consider the outer planets either. So the only two aspects that she makes is a semi-sextile to Uranus and a conjunction to Chiron, which are not traditional planets. So she may be considered unaspected. And so she has counter parallel to Mars, which is the ruler of Aries. And so counter parallel is similar to opposition. So it's like having the Aries Libra polarity active or activated. And so it's a non-aspected planet is a wild card, right? It could, anything can happen, especially in the semi-sextile with Uranus, and I will explain why. So it makes this eclipse even wilder than having Uranus in Taurus, right? So in fact, yeah, anything may happen with financial problems, financial issues, relationship issues, alliances, contracts, right? She rules all those things, and it could be, anything can happen. So she is I would say Venus in Aries, she not only is she fallen, right, because she rules Libra, but she is injured. So she has fallen and she injured herself there. So, and it's also in the Leo decan ruled by the sun. So it's kind of a similar to a mutual reception with the sun, right? So and we can expect that financial issues and relationship issues, and you know, the alliances between countries would be in center stage. So it's all about the material reality, the as I said, the food that we need to survive, everything that is tangible and material. Also, she, as I said, she's semi-sextile, which means 30 degrees separation, almost exact. I mean, it's just 6 minutes of orb with Uranus. So in this configuration, this aspect shows the need to learn independence and be original in the solutions, right? The relationship solutions or financial solutions. And she needs to resist the pressure to conform with the status quo. So she needs to be original, different, alternative, as Chiron is teaching her, right? Chiron is all about alternative healing, right? And so she is injured, and at the same time, she's healing. She's learning how to heal with Chiron. And how to be different and original, right? So it is important to acquire an original set of values. Now that things are, I mean, we have rampant inflation. Yeah, we need to be original in our financial decisions, because it's not the same to buy a piece of bread for $1 and then buy it for $5, right? So we are in a crunch to make different choices and make decisions that are original, different, and that might not be what is expected. So we need to be different and a little detached and impersonal in our decisions. Will give us an extraordinary creative power to solve our problems, right? To take a distance and be objective. And we're learning to detach from our need to have to you know, Venus is all about having and buying, and in Taurus is accumulating stuff, right, that we sometimes we don't need. So I think with this eclipse we will realize that we have so much stuff accumulated and we need to get rid of them. It probably shared with someone else that needs it more or most. Right, so this is one of the readings at this one level, let's say, of the reading. So, and I think that financially we are touching bottom in order to be challenged to find alternatives, right? To find different ways to consume, right? Be more frugal, for example, eat less, eat better, and also put the money where it is worth. So the other in relationships, for example, it could mean passive aggressive attitudes in relationships, especially because this Venus is hurt, right? And Uranus is asking her to be different, to approach relationships in a different way. Okay, so another important aspect of this moon is that it is almost perfect square with Saturn. And this is very, very important because Saturn, of course, represents blocks, delays, obstacles. It represents the social structures in Aquarius that are defining, if you want, what we do with our resources, how we share or not share our resources, right? Our society has radically changed with the pandemic, right? And Saturn is there putting new structures in our society, and those new structures and those new systems, right, networks, are asking us to change the way we consume and the way we invest the money, the way we need to leave behind or let go of the dependence on others, right, to provide our sustenance, and become more autonomous and more self-sufficient. So Saturn in Aquarius represents, as I said, restrictions, and also separation, so social separation, and that affects society in, as I said, the supplies, right, that come from different places, and that we depend on those places to give us. And so it is affecting the distribution, the networks of distribution. And it's delaying, of course. We had here in Texas, our governor decided that every truck crossing the border with Mexico into the United States needed to be inspected. And that generated a delay that was, of course, impossible. And such a delay provoked losses, I mean, sidereal losses and financial assets, because the produce that come from Mexico, like strawberries and blueberries and I don't know, apples or whatever that comes from lettuce and vegetables and etc. Of course, after 3 or 4 days waiting at the border, everything was spoiled. And who knows what else, but yeah, I heard on the news that the losses have been enormous, until the governor realized, okay, I made a mistake, let's go back to our old way. Anyways, and that of course resulted in scarcity. If you go to the supermarket, the grocery store, the produce is not there. And if there is, it's half spoiled and not good. So that is part of the scarcity, provoked scarcity. Other ways that we experience scarcity is through inflation, of course, because we don't have enough money to buy the same things that we were buying before. So it's important to start planting our own food and doing our local production of goods, re-establish and bring back industries that can produce locally, especially food and energy. So Saturn can also represent the blocks and regulations and new structures of networks like the internet, for example, or the networks of energy supply, right? Because Taurus and Scorpio are the axis of energy, right? My own energy, Taurus, or the shared energy in Scorpio. So we're talking here at the personal level, how we share sexuality, for example, it's a form of energy, but at the community level, it would be electricity or any source of power like gas or whatever other source of power. And so Saturn is blocking somehow. It could be blocking the networks of energy supply, which is very well represented by the war in Ukraine, right? That is blocking the flow of energy, right? Because of course the West had decided to stop giving money to Russia in exchange for the oil, even though it hasn't stopped, but that's a different story. Anyways, so we also have the conjunction of Mars and Neptune. So with Mars and Neptune, we have that is trining the moon and is sextiling the sun, right? Here in Pisces is 3-6 sextiling the sun and trining the moon. So at the same time, we have Pluto sextile the moon and trining the sun. And they will, the moon and the sun, they will perfect this aspect after, right? And the moon will do it a few hours after the eclipse, and the sun will perfect this trine 3 days after the eclipse. But this aspect is applying, right, is forming, which is it makes it really powerful. And if you see here, you see the green lines here and here, it also is a sextiling, Pluto sextiling Neptune with Mars, and here we have the other sextile. It makes like a cradle. So these are the points of escape for the tension created by the opposition moon sun and the T-square with Saturn. So if we use Pluto and Mars and Neptune, should be in the houses, you know, where you have those transiting, you can deal more efficiently with the energy of this eclipse. It's like having an escape, having a support to help you overcome the energies of the eclipse. So Mars with Neptune in Pisces is the secret actions that are taken to avoid adverse consequences or judgment or rejection, right? And notice that they are occupying the last decan of Pisces, which is a Scorpio decan. The first decan is Pisces, the second is Cancer, the third is Scorpio, ruled by Pluto and Mars. So this conjunction Mars Neptune is not so, let's say, soft, is Plutonian, right? And it's sextile by Pluto. So it has this Plutonian subconscious taste to it that can bring up subconscious desires and impulses, and it can result in obsessive impulsive actions and really out of control, because Mars is kind of confused, kind of Mars in Neptune is like the guy that has drunk one beer more than he should have, and it's kind of lost in the clouds. So it could be obsessive, compulsive, impulsive, and confused. Very bad blend. But so on the other hand, it could be on the bright side, using this energy on the bright side. It could be that you get an intuition, you use your psychic powers to heal, right? Pluto, we need to give credit to Pluto and Scorpio that they are healing powers, healing energies, if we know how to use them. The thing is that Pluto does it in a very considered cruel way, right? In very intense and powerful and dramatic or traumatic way. But sometimes because we are always we react when we are at the bottom, we react when we are between the sword and the wall, so sometimes it is the way that we learn, we humans learn, right? When we got to the bottom or the extremes, or when we are stuck and we don't find another way, there's the trauma, and voila, we start our healing process. So with Mars, it could be a visible, tangible expression by action, of your imagination. Like it could be charity work, for example, that is for healing in hospitals and such. It could be secret business deals. So be careful with financial scams and dangers also. Those get rich quick, that you need to avoid, of course. Other dangers are using gas or smoke, drugs, alcohol, or medicines as well. Sometimes the medicines that you are regularly taking may cause problems, you know, especially those that are vapors, like sprays and gas, for example, sedation that uses gas, because Neptune is gas. And there could be also environmental pollution with gas or chemicals that, for example, in Ukraine, they're already happening in Ukraine with the explosions of places, industrial places that the Russians are bombing. So see, those gases climb to the atmosphere, and they may pollute not only the sky in Ukraine or Europe, or because the winds take them around, you know, the rotation of the earth will take it around. So when there is gas pollution in one place of the earth, who knows where it's going? And so any place on the earth could be affected by the atmosphere pollution. Okay, so those are some of the aspects taking Mars and Neptune alone. But if we combine them with the sun and the moon, because they make a trine and sextile, we find that it could be an inspiration or the imagination that favors the improvement of family life, or improvement of energy production or food production, or the conditions of survival, right? Taurus. And also the psychic faculties that could help overcome those unconscious patterns, your own and others, you know, and overcome the old ways of being, right, in Scorpio. Since they are in trine with the moon and sextile with the sun, so this is something that is a kind of energy that flows easily, and it will be helpful if you know how to use it. So it could be also the opportunity to do spring cleaning, you know, decluttering the home or your psyche. And sometimes it can bring you the opportunity to discover that things that don't work anymore, you know, like share money, for example, a mortgage or a debt that you have, and you can renegotiate or repurpose the money, or do a different kind of investment with your money because it's not working properly, right? So another way to use this energy of the trine, the sun with Mars and Neptune, is that you may increase your power or increase your empowerment in order to become more resourceful and become more autonomous or self-sufficient, like producing your own food and saving your own money, or you know, repurposing your resources in general, right? Using old things to convert them into new things. For example, if you have old clothes, you can convert them in new clothes for the children. I used to do that when my children were young and we were very poor. So, and that's something that in times of need, you can use parts of clothing that are still good to make other things, right? And some could become rugs, and you don't need to buy a rug to clean, for example. So this configuration of the sextile to the sun and trine to the moon also favors the material self-sufficiency, as I said, and also the intuitive perception. And that is stimulated. It happened several times these days. One trivial case, for example, I was at the grocery store and I was paying, and my inner voice told me, look at the ticket and look at the ticket. And of course, I said, well, I will do it when I get to the car with things. And then I went to the car and loaded my things. I put the cart in the place where it belongs. And then I forgot all about the ticket. I went home and I discovered that I had been charged for one thing that I didn't buy. And I hadn't been charged for one item that I did buy. So I had to go back, and especially because the price was so different. And so I had to go back and tell them, listen, you didn't charge me for this, but you charged me for something I didn't get. And the manager called the cashier, one of the cashiers, any of them, and it was the same cashier that had made the mistake. And he said, oh, that was me. So that was very interesting. Anyways, so paying attention to intuition, to your sixth sense perceptions that tells you things, and that was a very trivial issue, but there could be other things that are very important, and you need to tune in to your intuitive perception, your clairvoyance, clairscience, or clairaudience as well, because sometimes people hear inside their heads, as I did, and we need to pay attention to that, because inside of us there's some essence that knows everything, and we haven't discovered it yet if we don't practice this tuning, this synchronicity, and tuning into our sixth sense, as it was called in the past, right? So this configuration benefits that. So we have, on one side, we have the transformation that Pluto introduces. On the other side, we get the inspiration in order to change what we need to change in our material reality and become more independent, and also Scorpio is strategies, the strategies that we need in order to manage our shared resources, not only share resources with your partner, but share resources in general in society as well. So I think I told you all the ideas that I had. I think this could be a very positive eclipse if you use those sextiles and trines. So make sure that you are checking the planets that are touched by this 25-degree 18-minute eclipse in the fixed signs. So if you have your sun, your moon, any planet in 25 degrees of the fixed signs, it could be Taurus, Scorpio, or Leo, Aquarius. But also, where is Pluto transiting in your chart? Where is this sextile Mars and Neptune? And especially so where Venus is transiting, because she is one of the rulers of this eclipse. It rules Taurus, and Pluto rules Scorpio, and Mars is the traditional ruler of Scorpio. So here we have the rulers, right, in action, trying to save the day. So Venus and Pluto. So use those energies and you will be fine. We are now out of the Kalsarpa Yoga. The Sun and Mercury have escaped, so thank goodness. The crunch is released. So we have a leak of energy from the axis of the nodal axis, the nodes on the moon. So that leak of energy, I think, will help to release the pressure that we have been feeling. Something will give. You know, I think with this eclipse season, something will give. And with the next eclipse season in October and November, let us get ready for that, because that's going to be also another shake. So, and I will be on YouTube and on my blog writing or doing videos about the next events. I'm planning on Saturn in Pisces video and Pluto in Aquarius that are coming next year. So, and also Jupiter in Aries. I forgot to say here, we have a Mercury sextile Jupiter in Aries. So that is big news, you know, that may be favorable discoveries, revelations, right? Jupiter in Aries is impulsive and go-getter, but Mercury will be retrograde. It is retrograde already for a long time. I will speak about Mercury retrograde in future installments, maybe writing probably. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your subscribing and liking and commenting and sharing my videos and my material. So I also teach a course, basic introductory course, where you learn everything about the natal chart and how to read it, which is more important than anything. So how to read your chart. So just contact me for a reading or for learning with me. All my students are happy with it. So I encourage you to email me with your information and we will be in contact. Thank you and have a great eclipse season and tell me about it, please. Bye.